Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Daily ChinWag with me, Richard Vobes, on the 8th of August 2022. Another sunny, beautiful day here in the UK, certainly in the southeast. Not sure what it is where you are, obviously, but it's a lovely day here. However, turn the news on, and as ever, as is their wont, you hear that the world is in a dreadful state and everything is bad and gloomy. I want to ask today, do you find that the things they're talking about in the news actually is affecting you? I mean, are you actually affected by the things they talk about? I open my door in the morning and I don't see the thousands of migrants that are coming into the UK. I don't actually see them standing outside the door or in the street. I mean, I know that's going on and it upsets me and I'm very angry about it and I don't want these people coming in illegally to the country, but I don't actually see them. It hasn't impacted my individual life, but maybe it has you. And so this is what I'm interested in, these big news stories that make us fearful and worried and keep us anxious. Are they actually affecting you, or are you just going across, your daily life? And although we're being told these things, are we actually impacted, or is really the government getting on with stuff and making all this stuff disappear so we don't have a problem? For example, we were told that the airports in a terrible state. If you're going abroad, that you've had to wait hours and hours, and everybody is impacted by all the security checks and the COVID things, and the fact that not enough planes have been in, or that loads of plane holidays have been cancelled, and that people are being told last minute or when they turn up at the airport. Now, doesn't affect me because I'm not going on holiday abroad. I very rarely go to an airport, usually just to pick somebody up or drop them off, and that's often my kids. But that's it. I haven't been abroad for years, and actually I've no intention of going abroad at the moment. My passport has expired. I've still got the old passport. It's just I have no need to get it renewed. Plus the fact we went through that whole COVID thing and you're supposed to have had these awful jabs and they won't let you on board if you don't have any of that. So, I'm stymied there anyway. I don't know if that's still the case even. So the airport stuff hasn't affected me. What about the NHS and going to hospital? Well, I've been very lucky. I've not had any illnesses that have required me going to my GP or indeed going to A&E. I haven't had to wait. Now, again, I'm very lucky in that I try to look after myself as best I can health-wise, but you can never prevent accidents, of course. Just been lucky that I haven't been hit by a bus. I know plenty of people perhaps would like me to be hit by a bus, but I haven't as yet. Excuse me. And so I haven't had to go and deal with the problems at A&E and all the rest of it, but except that my son Billy, he works at the hospital and was helping him out with a problem at his flat the other day and saying how's work, and he's going, no, it's all good. Any big problems there? No, not really. So again, we're being told all these things. We're told that everything is dreadful and that we're all going to be impacted by it. But it's not actually happening to me. And I'm curious, am I the only one? Am I living in a little bubble in which all this stuff doesn't happen to? Can't be. The train strikes, we were told that there was all these train strikes. Now, I know they went on, and of course it would have affected some people. Didn't affect me because I don't go on a train. Cost of diesel. Yes, that did go up, and yes, that did affect me. That is one of the things it has. It has dropped a little bit. There's a perception that, it's cheaper now. But hang on a minute, it's not that much cheaper. It's still much more expensive than we are used to buying, and it's going to cripple people. The cost of living. I want to know, is the cost of living. I go into Morrison's, which is a supermarket near me, and yes, the prices have gone up a little bit. I am quite selective on the sort of food I'm buying, but I am generally only buying for me. Occasionally the lovely Julia will come over and she will stay, and so we will have a meal together, so I'm buying for her, but mostly I'm just looking after myself. My income is not huge, so I'm quite selective on the type of foods that I buy. I don't buy excessive amounts. My fridge is never jam-packed with stuff. My freezer is practically empty. I don't keep loads of stuff in there, and hence I don't throw away and I don't waste very much. Mostly the freezer is made from meals that I've made a bigger meal, so that I can get perhaps 3 meals out of it. And then, like over the weekend, yesterday when the lovely Julia was staying, I realised we didn't have much food in, but I said, hang on a minute, I've still got some chili con carne in the freezer. We could, I harvest some of my potatoes, which are in little grow bags. Had that with a bit of cheese and some frozen peas that I just happened to have. And that was it, and suddenly from almost nowhere, thanks to a little bit of prudent keeping some stuff in the freezer, we were able to make a meal. So wasn't too worried about that. But is the cost of living? I've got logs in a wood-burning stove. Anybody who watches this will know, because I keep harping on about it, and I don't mean to harp on about it, but I've got logs, and my very lovely local supplier has told me, he said, well, the prices have gone up, but you're a loyal bloke. Everybody else's has gone up, but yours hasn't. Yours hasn't gone up. That's very nice of you, John. He said, it will next time. Everybody will their increase of an extra £5 a bag, but you'll only be £5. You get 3 bags every time I order. So he's only going to put it up by a £5 overall. And again, it's like, wow, thank you very much. I'm obviously use electricity. I don't use any gas. But I use it as the minimum amount of electricity, so I don't heat the house with that. Even in the winter, I won't be doing it. Yes, I have to put the computers on and the LED lights, which are lighting me now, but they are fairly low level, and I only put them on for a significant time. And I am, I suppose, a little bit of a skinflint when it comes to using things, so I think that I got that from my parents who lived during the war. And those sort of things, I think, have made me a little bit more, what should we say, cautious about how much I'm not wasteful. I try not to turn all the lights off, turn the taps off. Even when I go away, even if it's just for a single night, I turn the water off just in case the ballcock, which has happened, in my water tank goes and it overflows and water just trickles away, because the cost of water, and especially in a drought, nobody wants to waste water unnecessarily, but you're paying for it, and I don't want to pay for it. So I do turn that off. So I am a little bit, I don't know. I don't go and turn all the plugs off everywhere, but the main power points I will turn off as well if I'm out for a few days. I don't want to get a fire, naturally. So I do try not to be terribly wasteful, but I haven't overly found that these things impact on me. However, as I say, it's just me. I'm an individual. If you've got a family, you've got a wife and 2 or 3 kids, you may have 2 cars, you may both be necessarily working, and the kids have got to go to here, there, and everything. I can imagine that it is extremely difficult to make ends meet in this day and age. But then you'll hear how people such as the train drivers who went on strike, who were earning about 50 grand or just under, and they want a pay rise because they haven't had a pay rise for a long term, and earn, I don't know what it is, over 50 grand a year. And to me, that's an astronomical amount of money. But I suppose it doesn't matter how much you're paid, you live to your, what do they call it? You live to your, whatever you're paid. I forget the term now. You live to your wealth, don't you? So you sort of, if you know you've got about 50 grand a year coming in, you end up usually spending all of that, perhaps because you bought plusher cars, and you're not cutting back all the time. And so then, the cost of living comes in, and you find actually, yes, the school fees are a bit higher now, and I can't drive my Porsche quite as many times as I like, or fill it up with things. And so then they need to have more money. But I find, being somebody who's frugal, you think, I don't know why you're spending up to your means, living to your means. There we go. That was the phrase I was looking for. Are you somebody who does that? Or are you somebody who does think, well, okay, I am earning quite well, but I'm just going to save it? I'm going to invest it in something, or I'm going to save it just in case of a rainy day? Or do you not care? if you're on somebody who's on a relatively high bracket of money. Now, maybe you don't think that 50 grand a year is a high bracket of money. Personally, it would be amazing to earn that kind of cash, but I don't. So I'm asking, does the news, the bad news that we are being told all the time, which can be oppressive, does it actually affect you? It might get you down, and you might worry about all these things, that we're going to run out of gas and electricity, that they're going to start fracking next door to you, or they're going all the global warming and all that doom mongering that keeps coming in, where clearly a little bit of common sense can tell you that actually this global warming stuff is a bit of a scam, really, the man-made stuff. I mean, if you actually look at it and analyse it a little bit and just use your common sense, particularly if you've been living on this planet for any length of time, if you've been living here for over 40 or 50 years, you start to think, hang on, these stories just keep coming. They keep coming, the same stories, the same fear, all in 12 years' time. And you think, well, hang on, that was 20 years ago they were telling us in 12 years' time all the ice caps are going. And then there's some feeble excuse why it hasn't happened. And so, well, never mind all that. We got the facts wrong. The curve was in the wrong place, or some of the measurements were wrong. But now we're absolutely right. And you think, yeah, are you? Are you really? Or is it just a little bit more scaremongering? Everybody wants to scaremonger. So I'm interested, are you affected by the actual news? Does it really affect you, or do you not see it? If you turn the news off for a week, for a month, for 6 months, for a year, would it really affect you? Would it affect you? The things that are going on, do you notice any more? I mentioned this to the lovely Julia, and she said, well, there's definitely more people and the traffic is very busy. And I said, yeah, that is true, except that I remember when I was younger, there were fewer roads. They weren't as wide. You had to go through towns. You didn't have bypasses. And although there were fewer people in cars, there were still traffic jams. There was still slow traffic. The cars weren't as good as they are now. In terms of, I remember my cars that I had were rust buckets, and they were constantly falling apart. You constantly had to get the Haynes manual out if you did it yourself, but you could at least do that. Now the cars don't seem to rust quite so much, and as long as you don't bang them and prang them into each other, and you look after the engines, they do seem to sort of run better and are or more economical and all of those things. So they've definitely improved. But yes, we still have got a lot more traffic on the roads, even though they've widened the traffic so there's more people. But it doesn't seem to matter if you have a 2-lane road or a 3-lane or even a 10-lane. I think what tends to happen is that people just fill it up. They just fill up the lanes. You could have as much. And then, of course, you'll have these bottlenecks where people can't get through. We have one at Arundel. And then, of course, what happens is that people say, well, you know, we can't cope with this. It's 2 minutes too slow and all the rest of it. So we'll make a bypass round, a nice big busy road. And then everybody comes out and says, well, you can't build through the ancient woodland nearby and go through that farmland or take those houses out and all the rest of it. You can't do that. Which I totally agree with. You can't. But then you say, well, the alternative is you have the bottleneck and be done with it. So, so I want to know, does the things in the news actually affect you? Are you affected by any of it? By going to the NHS, have you had to wait the hours and hours? Or have you just thought, well, I keep being told this, but I don't see it? Be interested in your comments. I'm sure you can completely disagree with everything I say, and that's great, and it's lovely to see the comments. Sorry, I got itchy nose this morning. Right, so we're going to have a look at some of the comments that people have been making on recent videos. I was just talking to a lovely chap the other day who said sometimes when I'm reading the comments, he doesn't always know which video it refers to. And if you haven't seen them, obviously it doesn't necessarily make... It's just to give you a flavour of how people are reacting to the ChinWag. So this one is, should we return to burning logs and coal? You remember that one? And Outdoors Loving Kent Girl, who is new to the channel, hello to you, says, if you want affordable energy bills into the country, buy dinghy at Dover, 4-star hotel and everything paid for you. Oh right. And also, does it pay to be loyal? She says again, to the faceless multinationals who couldn't give a toss about their customers and let us sit on the phone for 2 hours waiting for someone in India to answer no. Absolutely, I would totally agree with you there. To my local independent shopkeeper, butcher, baker, farm shop and tradespeople, absolutely, it does pay to be loyal. And if it's a big chain, I will only show loyalty is their customer service is impeccable. I'll only show it if it's impeccable. And I think that's the way to go. Personally, I totally agree with you. Ozim, now let me see if I can get this right. I'm not reading this. Ozamabin Kenny, not Larden, Kenny. Plain guys, he says. This is in response to why does one job start small and then turn into a bigger affair? He said, plan, guys. Yes, of course, sorry, I'm misreading that. Plan. If you plan properly, there won't be any job that grows on you. I guess that's true. Sometimes you can plan and then you think, yeah, this is underneath the plaster. The pipe goes here and goes down to there, and then it's as simple as that. And then you take the plaster off, and then there's a myriad of surprises. That can happen, though. So there we go. June Flower says, in response to little gestures, says, I would never offer a worker using heavy equipment alcohol of any kind. No, of course. Why would you? It would be a completely daft thing to do. Not safe. Sodas or ice water are good things in this heat. I don't know about sodas personally. I mean, because that implies that they're sugary drinks, and sugary stuff and sunshine, I'm not sure is a good mix. Whereas ice water, yes, I can absolutely get that. At least my state of New York in the USA, at least in her state, in New York in the USA, that's what they would do. I guess sodas and stuff in America is very much a thing. Winter, I would offer coffee, but not coffee, hot chocolate or tea. Yes, that sounds lovely. Sounds lovely. I'd like to be a worker near you to have all those wonderful things. And Roy R. Does Things says, in relation to how do you react to things when they go wrong, it seems to happen all at once. We're in Florida, and within a few weeks, the pool pump, the dishwasher, the fridge, and the cooktop all went. July was an expensive month. I'm sorry to hear that, Roy. He said it is a bit like buses, isn't it? That, one comes and then a whole stream of things. Is it coincidence, or is it just that that's how we remember things? It'd be curious to know. And Nick Stacey says, how do you react when things go wrong? He says, plan for things to go wrong and be pleased when they don't. Oh, that's the sort of, I'm a pessimist, and then if things go well, I can praise that things didn't go as bad as I thought, which is an interesting strategy, it's true. Not always the case, though. And learn when things go wrong. I'm sat here worried about the signs I put out for a running race today, for the race tomorrow over the Downs from South Harting. I laid out the signs for a race for at least 26 years, and they've only been tampered with once. Moved the race elsewhere. He learned. Yes, I suppose that's true. If people do tamper with your signs, it might be worth just doing it somewhere else. I guess they're tampering for a reason. But yes, plan. It's interesting concept there. Plan for the things to go wrong. Anthony Conti says, in reference to how do you react when things go wrong, I remember the fender bender incident. I feel lousy when things go wrong, I must admit. The fender bender incident. I'm not quite sure what you referred to that, but maybe you can remind me. And Ingram Cars says, in relation to the same thing, no one likes it when things break or go wrong. My favourite saying is, well, it's nothing time and money won't fix. It usually makes those that are distressed smile. Yes. I guess it's a natural reaction in the human species when things go wrong to either panic or think, oh my God. But actually, usually it's like when worrying about things, mostly we over worry. We seem to find what's the extreme thing that's going to happen, which is usually most unlikely. And I guess it's that thing that who was it now? Nick Stacey was saying, we sort of have an extreme worry, and then when it does, it all turns out in the end, and we go, oh yeah. But we don't seem to sort of learn from that and go, well, some of us don't, and think, well, actually, it might not be as bad. It might be all right. Finally, then, Jem Hanks says, in relation to the same subject, I've always tried to live with the maxim, when one door closes, another one will open. Not easy, but I do try. And that's a great way to finish today's show. So thank you very much for listening. Yes, I want to know, does the news, all the things that we're told, all that doom and gloom, is it actually affecting you, or is it just the worry of those things around you? Do leave a comment, and be interesting to read some of those. Until next time, thank you for watching. Look after yourselves and have fun. Bye for now.